From armor mods to blocking a super, here are 11.5 things in Destiny 2 that you might not know. Ever wished you could use your shoulder charge from a standstill position? Well, then this might interest you. This strange exploit I first saw on Destiny Bulletin on Twitter, and as you can see, it's pretty wild. Super canceling a slide when your shoulder charge attack is ready will allow you to access an instant shoulder charge once your super ends. This could be interesting for melee setups, like maybe like a 1-2 punch sort of deal, but unfortunately it goes away as soon as you sprint, which makes it pretty limited. I have heard some players, especially in my comment section, claim that Rope Dart deals damage on its way back to you, which we decided to test. And I can safely say that this is just not true. That Rope Dart is as good as useless when it decides that it wants to finally pathfind back to you. But while we were testing the Rope Dart, we played around with its chaining abilities. We first tried to see if, with a friendly player, it would chain often them into enemies. And yeah, hopefully no surprises there, but next we tried something inanimate, like the Strand Tangle, which seemed like a good candidate because of its ease of access on Strand subclasses, and still nothing. And right as we were getting done testing another thing you'll see later in this video, I remembered that stasis turrets have weird properties, like allowing things like kill clip to proc on them, something we showed off in earlier videos in this series, and sure enough, that stasis turret is your ticket to a free Rope Dart chain. The Reaper mod is insanely good at generating orbs of light, as all it takes is just one use of your class ability for a nearly guaranteed drop of orbs of light. But when we stacked more, expecting more orbs, or at least a more powerful orb to spawn after that kill, nothing. Despite the kill feed showing otherwise, multiple stacks of this perk don't actually do anything. Even more interesting is that if you were somehow able to use your dodge in rapid succession before getting that kill, this mod's function ceases to work altogether. Something to keep in mind, especially for you 6 Coyote mains out there. Headstone is a perk which generates a stasis crystal on precision headshot kills. As you can see here, its base damage in PvP is about 25, maybe 26 with rounding, but did you know that these stasis crystal explosions will gain bonus damage if your weapon gains bonus damage? Even something as simple as standing in an empowering rift will give this a mild increase in its overall damage, and at least for PvP, this is not tied to its archetype, as both this 150 scout and this rapid fire scout are both dealing the same amount of damage from that crystal detonation. Here's a quick one. If you are a hunter using Grapple, which is the correct way to play a Strand Hunter by the way, if you jump right at the end of your grapple with strafe jump specifically, you will get way more speed than with any other jump. It's a minor thing to know, but I'll take any speed boost I can get with these things. Shoutouts to Mr. 2000 for sharing this one. Leave a comment below if you know something that maybe we haven't featured in a vid and you might get featured. Let's keep going. As you might have noticed, Hunter Grapple anchors change your reticle red like they're an enemy, and as it turns out, quite a few explosive weapons and abilities will detonate prematurely on them. Here are a few. Have you ever looked at your reflection in your scope? No, I mean like really looked at them. You might not have noticed that these reflections aren't accurate to your surroundings, because if you look at these reflections here, you can see that it's not moving even though I am. Okay, well, maybe you did know that. Well, allow me to show you an additional half of a bonus fact. That scope reflection actually does change on certain maps such as Javelin 4, but it changes depending on where you are on the map. But it does it in a really odd way. As you can see, the scope is changing based on where I am standing, but it's more like a set radius or like an invisible barrier that tells the scope when to change. It's still not accurate to your exact position either, but it's still odd. Just watch the scope and you can see what I mean. You can even watch this subtle scope change happen in other people's scope, which is a pretty cool detail that Bungie definitely did not need to add, but I'm glad they did. This next thing we have mentioned in an older video, but it's far too relevant right now not to mention again. Barricade projectiles, such as the one on Strand Titan's aspect, can actually go through shallow walls. This means you can barricade blast an enemy without them ever having a chance to fight back. And on a map like Javelin 4, where these semi-permeable walls are entirely encompassing the center of the map, this can be insanely useful, especially with good teamwork. One of the reworked mods in the new armor system is Emergency Enforcements, which grants a bonus damage resistance if you have 3 armor charges and your shields are broken. But just how much damage resistance do these actually provide in something like PvP, where the grandfather of this mod previously didn't work? Well, if we get the necessary setup and try it with a precision frame bow, which is about 100 damage on the body shot, we can see that it is a whopping 1%. That's pretty darn useless if you ask me, especially being that it costs 3 armor charges to get. But hey, at least it's hopefully working as intended in PvE. What about the other mods, such as the mods that increase a given armor stat for your period of time while you have that charge? We tested this with the Resilience mod, and it's a whopping 30 bonus stats. I had a friend with 7 Resilience, which makes this Ace of Spades Momentum Mori in Radiance setup just barely kill him with 2 headshots, as it's 198 damage from both shots that it's dealing. But when he's actually charged, it's allowing him to live, which is only possible on 10 Resilience, which is pretty insane if this is identical on all other stat boosting mods. Subscribe, or I steal your left pinky finger. Bless your faces, and deuces.